What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Couch Coaches Podcast. The NFL offseason for the teams that did not make the playoffs is here. All this coaching stuff is all underway, all the rumors, everything. And so I know we're not there yet, and I know I really want to talk with Shane about this, and we're going to try and get him on an episode here so we can break it down. But I just wanted to talk about the Giants coaching situation a little bit, get my opinion out there before anything happens. My ideal situation for the New York Giants is for us to go out and hire John Harbaugh. I think the Giants right now, we have had a culture in our organization of losing almost ever, right? Ever since Lawrence Taylor and the Bill Parcells with Phil Simms, we won a couple Super Bowls back then in the 80s, and that was great. I wasn't alive for it, but I've heard it was incredible, right? And we had good teams. We won a couple games, got there. It was fun, exciting. Ever since that team ended, the Giants throughout the 90s, throughout the 2000s, terrible, right? You get into the wild card in 2007, win a couple games thanks to Eli Manning being how clutch of a player he was. You had a good defense. You're able to win a couple games, go out and win the Super Bowl in 2007, 2008, and then in 2011, 2012. So we have 2 Super Bowls in my lifetime, right, under the Mara family. But the one thing about the Maras is they always hire. It's family, instead of making business and NFL and trying to win situation games. And those are not the decisions you make. And so I want John Harbaugh to come in and completely change the culture of the New York Giants. John Harbaugh is someone who knows how to build a team and how to get a culture fit, right? He's not an offensive guy. He's not a defensive guy. He's not going to be super skilled in either one of those. Great coach, but that's just not his forte, right? He's here to build a culture about winning, standards, all that stuff. And I think having someone like that who can manage a game, build your culture for the New York Giants is something that we desperately need. Now, the problem with signing John Harbaugh is you must have the coordinators around him that are going to work well with him, that are going to allow the offense to move, the defense to move. And he puts a lot of trust in those coordinators. So with that being said, John Harbaugh is my ideal head coach. I would love for that to happen. Now, are there other guys I'd be okay with? Yes. The Stefanskis, I'd be fine with. Even Clint Kubiak, I'd be fine with him, right? There's other guys that I'm okay with, but Harbaugh is the guy for the culture aspect. Giants need a culture change. They need to start winning games. That needs to be the main focus, right? On the offensive side of the ball, which is what I'm going to more focus on in this episode because I know Shane is way more, he's super into defense, coordinators, everything. I'd love to get Brian Flores, but there's a whole all the situations why we know he's not going to come to New York, but I'd love to get him because I just love his defensive mind, but he's not coming, so that's fine. I don't know who we're going to get on the defensive side. Hopefully we can get Shane on an episode. We'll talk about it. But on the offensive side, guys, the tough part about this is I'd love to get a bunch of guys here, right? I'd love to get Cliff Kingsbury, Kubiak. I'd love to get Mike McDaniels. But the problem is a lot of these guys are not going to leave their current positions just to get a offensive coordinator role. I think someone like Mike McDaniels, who I would love, is the most realistic situation for the New York Giants for a couple reasons. One, he runs most of the time, right? It relies on spreading horizontally before you can attack vertically. It requires a lot the quarterback to be mobile, get outside the pocket, make reads, make the play, and hit guys in space, hit guys, get them going, let your athletes make plays. And I think when you have guys like Malik Neighbors, we're probably going to draft a receiver in the first round. When you have guys like that, and you have Jackson Dart, who seemed to be really athletic, gets him in space, either use his legs or throw the ball, I think he would work perfectly. I think that's something the Giants have lacked over the past couple of years, maybe decades, of the offensive creativity has not been there, right? It's been the Brandon Jacobs and the Ahmad Bradshaws of running downhill, the Rashad Jennings, right? Where you're not getting creative. With Eli, you weren't able to do that much stuff. He's back in the pocket, running play action, right? But he's mostly a pocket passer. I think with Jackson Dart, he provides this different dynamic where he can roll out of the pocket, bootleg, you do play action stuff, feed off of the run. With Cam Scadaboo, who seems like he's going to be a beast, and Tyrone Tracy, who I really like. I'm a big fan of wide receiver in college and high school, and he transitioned to a running back. I think him as a pass catcher, as a playmaker, I think he can pair really, really well with what Mike McDaniels might want to do. And so I just think it works well together. I would love for them to do that. But, you know, who really knows what's going to happen? I think that Jackson Dart, as a young quarterback, I think working in Mike McDaniel's scheme of all the pre-snap motions and all of that kind of stuff, it plays to Dart's advantage to be able to read defenses, pick up on what defenses are doing, and be able to decipher the best move. And I think when you can get an offensive mind like McDaniel's in there with Dart, who's developing, who's learning to be more creative, to grow into who he is as a player, and if he can grow into who he is as a pass rusher, as a passer and making plays, I think he's going to rely less on his legs, which is, I think, something that as a young quarterback, that's what he tends to do. And we saw that this year, where he always is quick to scramble and use his legs and be an athlete, which I love. But if he can do that from a perspective of that is my last resort, and that's that's a facet of his game that we can exploit and we can use, but it's not just a default. Oh, pocket collapsing, let me rush, let me roll out. I'm scared to make this throw, let me just run, and scared and just get hit, right? I think when Dart is able to become a better passer, read defenses better, right? He's going to be able to make the throws, keep the defense honest, and that's going to open up the rushing lanes for him. And then that's going to allow him to get more space so he's not taking as many hits. He's running when needed and not just running all over the place, right? And so I think Mike McDaniels would be the perfect hire for him. I would love to get some other guys in there, but I think Mike McDaniels, he just follows that, Kyle Shanahan coaching tree. And I just think we've seen it. The offenses, they're so talented, right? The schemes are really just, they're very... Right, we saw in the Eagles, right, with Kevin Patullo, they're just basic schemes, right? Like I mentioned in the last video, they're running just vertical concepts. They're running mesh concepts, right? They're just basic concepts that anybody can pick up. And when you do that, you allow the defenses to be able to play with you, drop people into coverage, do different things, disguise different things. And I think when you can be creative on offense, it's always keeping the defense guessing. You're always saying, okay, we're in this formation, but we can motion out of this. You allow your quarterback a lot of that flexibility to say, this is our play. We're lined up in this. Let me check out of it. I see the defense is in this. Let's motion, all those preset motions. When you can, the key to being a quarterback is information, right? And obviously there's other things, but I think the biggest key is having as much information at the snap of the ball that you can. If the quarterback knows the defensive formation, despite disguise, everything, he can then relay that information to linemen, to his receivers, so that we see it with Aaron Rodgers all the time, right? He sees something he likes, he does his little thing, right? He does his whatever it is to check to the receiver to say, run this route because I see they're playing soft off you, right? They're disguising this. This is going to be open off of it. And the defense is coming out in that way because they see what you're lined up in, right? The defense watches film too. So they're going to see your line. Okay, let me have Jackson Dart check it at the line and say, okay, we're in this, but I see this. And I think with Mike McDaniels, it's going to allow him that. I would love for them to get him. I'm not really sure if they will. So this was a quick little episode. I just wanted to talk about it before any Giants decisions get made. So I would love for this to happen. We're going to talk more in depth, hopefully, once the season ends, when I can get Shane on one of these and we can go back and forth about it so you guys can hear a little bit more. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments some of your thoughts. If you're Giants fans, who would you guys like to see the Giants hire? Appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you guys in the next episode.